In the study of gender and sexuality, we have discussed two relations between language and identity. Throughout the course, you have talked about these two types of relations between language and identity, language and gender identity, and language and gender in general. Number one, our identity determines our language. Our identity, we are male, so according to that, we will choose words in our conversation, in our talk, in different contexts. We are female of elite class, we are male politician, for example. So according to our predefined identity, we use language. This is one view. Our identity determines our language. Number two, our language determines our identity. Quite opposite to that. When we use language, as a result of that, as an effect of that, people decide who this person is. Okay. This is called performance theory. This is construction theory. And number one is called the view of theory based on social facts. But all these approaches are applied to single identities. The approaches which we have discussed under these two main points throughout the course, I mean by all these approaches, all the discussions, all the topics which we have covered in this course under these two main themes, here we apply these theories, these concepts of identity to separate categories. For example, two males, two females, two transgender categories separately, only two gays, only two lesbians, etc. So all the discussion, all the theories which come under these two approaches to identity, they are applied to individual categories, to single categories. We know that gender and sexuality both are not experienced in isolation. I have taught you, we have discussed it in previous modules, that we are male and female, but at the same time we belong to different classes, we belong to different races, we belong to different color. So all these identities work together. So gender identity or sexual identity is one of these multiple identities. If we want to study it, we have to study it in relation with other identities. Both gender and sexuality interact with class, color, and race. This is the approach we adopted to study gender, and the same approach we adopt to study sexuality. This approach is called intersectional approach to identity. So first we talked about only two approaches to identity. Our identity determines language, our language determines identity, and the third approach is intersectional approach, that we study our gender and sexual identity with reference to other identities. This is the third approach. As in case of gender, we have masculinities and femininities. Okay. Now, if we see single categories, category of males and category of females, within them there is a lot of variation. All males don't have equal power, equal rights. All females don't have equal status, power, etc., acceptability in society. So, within masculine category, we have variation. Within feminine category, we have variation. That's why we use the term masculinities and femininities. So, similarly, there are within category or intersectional variations in sexual categories. All gays are not of the same time. All lesbians are not of the same time. So, their behavior varies from person to person, context to context. Some even are both cis and trans. Their behavior falls in both categories. At the same time, they are heterosexual and also non-heterosexual. Similarly, there is variation with reference to class, gender, and race. So, within category, we have variation, and across categories, we also have variation. This is what we have called intersectional variation. The term queer, this term queer, it refers to both variations. It is an umbrella term for all social categories, all non-heterosexual categories, gays and lesbians and bisexual and intersex and so on. So it is umbrella term for all. But it is also critical about separate categories. It believes in constitution of sexual identity in relation with different categories. Different categories इकट्ठी होके एक identity बनाती है. So this term covers both within category variation and across category variation. So we conclude that whenever we conduct research on sexuality, why I have introduced this third approach to identity, the purpose was that if you go for research, and definitely in your BS program, you will write a thesis. So when you conduct research on sexuality, we should keep in mind that variations within and across sexual categories required different methods of research. These categories do not have clear-cut boundaries. This also should be kept in mind, because sometimes we put them all under one term, that is queer. How would we differentiate them? So these two facts should be kept in mind when we conduct research on this topic.